Hi there, my name is Hallie Jackson and this is my storytime presentation video for the purposes of interviewing for the position of Youth Services Librarian with Carver County Library. The following story time is designed for the 2s and 3s age group and is going to feature an opening song, one book, a movement activity, an Every Child Ready to Read accompanying activity, and then a closing song. For the purposes of this video, I've created a story time that's an abbreviated version of the one that I would normally do for this age group, which would usually feature a book, a song, a finger play, another book, a song, a movement activity, another book, a song or a rhyme, and then a closing song or activity. Of course, those programs usually take anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes, and I'm sure you guys can get a feel for how I would do things with a smaller slice of a program. So I'm just going to do one book for you guys today. I'm going to present my story time as if there were actually children and caregivers with me. Of course, there are not children and caregivers with me, so it might seem a little bit silly, but bear with me. And I hope you can hear me. This is the first time I've ever shot with this camera, so hopefully that's okay for you guys. I have also created a handout for parents that has some Every Child Ready to Read resources on it. This is something that I would definitely include during or after the storytime presentation should I be presenting it in a library. It's something that I would hand out to the parents who actually came to the library for the storytime, and I would also include it either on the library's website or on a parent resource board, whatever you guys have found works best for your community in that way. And on that handout, I have featured just a short summary of what Every Child Ready to Read is and of the 5 early literacy competencies, and going over just a summary of what we're going to talk about with the parents. So which literacy competencies the activity is going to touch on, some more ideas for how to touch on those and others at home, and then a recommended list of books that are appropriate for this age group that they can check out that are similar to the one that we're going to read today. If you want to check that handout out, I have linked it in the description to this video, and it will link you to the content on my blog, so you can definitely look at that if you would like to. Okay, thank you for watching. Let's go ahead and get started, and I look forward to cyber meeting all of you guys on Wednesday. Thanks. Okay, so for my opening song, I like to address children by name when they come into a program. I feel like that happens a lot with older children, but that the younger children kind of get skipped over, and I think it's important to address them as people even when they're really small. So my opening song includes their names. It's really short, and it kind of just goes on as the parents are coming in. I like to have parents fill out a name tag for the younger children, and then, it's like a big square that they put on so that I can clearly see it during the story time if I want to ask a specific child a question, or, ask, could you sit quietly, kind of anything like that. So as the child comes in, I look at their name tag and I sing my opening song. I'm going to use my name today since there aren't actually any children here. So it goes like this. Hallie's here today, Hallie's here today. We're so happy that Hallie's here today. Hallie, Hallie, come find your place. Please find your seat and get ready to read. And then you would start with the next child's name. Then once everyone is seated and calm as 2 and 3-year-olds are going to be, we're going to go ahead and start our story time. So I will read the book for you now. Today we are going to be reading A Moose That Says Moo by Jennifer Hamburg and pictures by Sue Truesdell. Let's see what this one's about. If I were allowed to invent my own zoo, the first thing I'd have is a moose that says moo. Next would come the sharks that would read book after book. An ox would serve eggs as a short order cook. The bears would drive cars. The skunks would jump rope. The sheep would take baths full of bubbles and soap. The zebra would put on a dress and a cape, wear really tall shoes, and then dance with an ape. See them dancing? They're having a good time, huh? The tigers would swing among leafy green trees and lazily lounge in the warm summer breeze. And then they would make macaroni and cheese and say, "Pardon me, but I think I might sneeze." Ooh, excuse me. And how would the animals celebrate night? With PJs and milk and a zoo pillow fight. Feathers would flit, feathers would float, feathers would wake up a sound asleep goat. Ooh, he's gonna be mad. The goat would get mad and throw handfuls of dough, interrupting a tap dancing, singing pig show. Do pigs dance? That's kind of silly, right? The pigs, quite surprised at this turn of events, would scamper and squeal and knock over a fence. The fence would crash into an all-duck jazz band, and this is where things would get way out of hand. The goose would spill juice. The snakes would all yelp. The cheetah would pick up the phone and say, "Help!" Otters would oink like pigs. Chipmunks would chirp. Rabbits would ribbit and hiccup and burp. The turtle would trip and land in a pie. You see him tripping and landing in that pie? While trying to calm a hysterical fly. Bzz. Fish would grab crayons and draw squiggly lines. You ever tried to draw underwater? Yeah, I bet that's pretty hard, huh? Groundhogs would rally and wave protest signs. More pie! Bigger slice of pie! Bears have our share, no fair! Bear is eating their pie. That's crazy. Looking around, I would quickly assess that this zoo that I grew was a zoo-rific mess. So poof, I'd take back that juice from the goose, and the dough from the goat, and the moo from the moose. And knowing that everything needed to change, I'd fix all the other things, silly and strange. And then I would vow never to do that again. Until I considered a juggling hen. The end. That was A Moose That Says Moo by Jennifer Hamburg with pictures by Sue Truesdell. Okay, guys, let's get up. Let's get some of our wiggles out here. Ooh, get my chair out of the way. Now, this is a little bit of a guesser. I do have notes with me today. By the way, I don't know if you can see me because that camera's pointed down a little bit far. I do have notes today, but normally I would have like an easel, next to me. I just don't happen to have an easel in my house. So this is called Mystery Animal Dance. Now we're having children. Go ahead and get up. Get some of these wiggles out here. Woo! Okay, now listen really close, guys. And I want you, after we're done listening, to tell me if you can guess what the animal is. Okay? Who is the animal, baggy and gray, who walks through the forest with a sway, who stomps around on big, big toes and feeds himself with his nose. Can anybody? An elephant! Good job, elephant. Okay, you want to run through it one more time? And at the end, we're just going to say elephant, and we're going to clap. Okay? Ready? Who is the animal, baggy and gray, who walks through the forest with a sway, who walks around on big, big toes, and feeds himself with his nose? An elephant does. Yay, good job. All right, everybody, did we get some of our wiggles out? Let's go ahead and move on now into the accompanying Every Child Ready to Read activity, which is going to be create your own zoo. Awesome. Let's move my camera back down just a little bit. Hopefully you can still see me. Okay, who remembers the first line of the story that we just read? Anybody remember? Let's revisit those. Let's look and see what it says. If I were allowed to invent my own zoo, the first thing I'd have is a moose that says moo. Now what I want to know is, what would your zoo look like if you could invent your own zoo? Would you have a moose that says moo? Would your zoo have lions and tigers and bears like normal zoos do? Or would they have different animals that you invent on your own? What do the animals like to do? What do the animals like to eat? Use your imagination, okay? And come up with your very own zoo animals. I want you caregivers to take the pieces of paper and the lap tabs that we've passed out to you and just kind of, this is an open-ended art activity, so there's no wrong way to do it. You just want to encourage the children to draw whatever it is that they happen to see fit. Okay, don't tell them, draw an elephant or whatever. Just let them come up with their own thing, and we'll see how they all look at the end. Then I would, give the parents or caregivers, not necessarily parents, some time to set up and to, get the kids drawing, just a few minutes. You let everyone get a little bit settled, and then I would go ahead and explain the Every Child Ready to Read component to them. So I might say something like, okay, so caregivers, for those of you who haven't been to our Every Child Ready to Read seminars, which are every first and third Friday of the month from 10 to 11 here in the Children's Library. Every Child Ready to Read is a program that aims to educate caregivers on ways to help children develop pre-literacy competencies that will eventually help them in early literacy when they start to learn to read. The way that we run that program is we focus on 5 early literacy skills or competencies. And those are phonological awareness, which is like knowing how letters sound and learning how to sound out words and play with the different sounds within words. Letter knowledge, self-explanatory. Background knowledge, also. Vocabulary, and print conventions or print awareness, which is like knowing how to handle a book, knowing how to follow a line across a page, how to turn a page, how books are made, that sort of thing. So each book that we read and each activity that we do, you can pull from these Every Child Ready to Read competencies that will then help the children develop the skills that they need. Today, with this activity here, we're focusing on the development of 3 of the 5 of those competencies, those being phonological awareness, background knowledge, and print conventions. And you can also sort of work in vocabulary if we were, working with animals that maybe the child has never heard of before. But since it's more of an open-ended activity and they're driving it, they probably already have that knowledge. So vocabulary is probably not going to be in it that much. The way that we are developing phonological awareness here is by playing with the sounds that the animals make. So when you're drawing your picture, your child's drawing their picture, I want you to kind of sit with them, and I'll come around as well and say, what sound does that animal make? Can you tell me about it? What other sounds might that animal make? What about some different animals? And of course, the book that we just read wasn't necessarily a sound book, but it did have some of the sounds. I mean, moo is obviously in the title, so they have gotten a little bit of that knowledge from the book that we just read, and this is amping that up. That's what the activity is meant to do, is complementary. Secondly, print awareness. What we're doing with print awareness here is we are allowing the children to see that the scribbles and the maybe letters, probably not letters, but it could be a simple letter, and the images that they're writing on the page have a connection to a greater meaning. So it's not just here's a scribble on a page, it's here's a scribble on a page or a picture of an animal, and that is a signifier for something else. So they're learning how to build the narrative structure that they're going to need when they get into their literacy education. Okay, and lastly, we're going to be working to develop the children's background knowledge by asking them to use what they already know to come up with their idea of something new. So we're building on their idea of conceptualization. They take what they already know from something else, and then they conceptualize a new version of reality, which is also going to help when they get into reading with their narrative understanding. Okay, then I would give the caregivers a few more minutes to finish up, and then I would say, okay guys, let's finish up with our bye-bye song. Please sing along if you know the words. So long, farewell to you, my friends. Goodbye for now. Until we meet again, I say so long, farewell to you, my friends. Goodbye for now. Until we meet again. It's been great to play and sing together, but now it's time to say goodbye. So long, farewell to you, my friends. Goodbye for now, until we meet again. That's my story time presentation. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to your questions on Wednesday. Bye-bye.